This week on RSBANDB Update, Moonrise has put Archaeology back in focus, so we return to the skill that became RuneScape's gold standard. Why its launch worked, why its loops still hold up, and where 6 years of relics, lore, and leveling have exposed the cracks. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 1095, recorded Thursday, June 25th, 2026. Archaeology 5 years later. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of RSBANDB Update. This week, Waterbirth Island has been graphically remastered, and we can tell you to go there and we can tell you to look at it. And that's pretty much the extent of the update, isn't it, Sir Dones?
I mean, honestly, I don't even think we need to do that. We can just say, open up the news post. There's a picture. Kind of all you need.
Or go and have a walk and, go there and look. I think the whole reason that people go to Waterbirth is for a singular clue scroll, because you can get to the Dag Kings by way of portal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's Snape Grass there, and I think that's about it. But
well, there's some mid-level Slayer in the dungeon underneath, like the Wallasalkis and the Dagonoth. I mean, I usually go to the lighthouse for Dagonoths, but oh, hello.
Yeah. In case folks are wondering why this is such a different cold open, what we've decided to do this week is, rather than go directly and decompose this update one for one, it's just happened. So what we're going to do is we're just going to welcome everybody to RSBANDB Update, Zerdone's third weekend, and I doubt you expected we'd be doing a short show this week covering Waterbirth Island and re-releasing one of our most favorite monthly bits ever.
It's a filler week already. We're off to a great start.
Indeed. And of course, I want to just give a big, huge thank you to our experienced tier Patreon members, because without them, we would not have the option of releasing these monthly bits to the public. And this week, the experienced tier Patreon members are Amos Reed, Bladecom, Dominic R, Jade Gizmo, Jason S, Jesse W, Julia W, Kesky, Lemon Lounge, Luminos, Ricky A, Psyoasis, Smavid, Snail Mage, The Naked Captain, and Tim. Big, huge thank you to all of them. If you're wondering what this is all about, head on over to patreon.com/RSBNB, but you'll hear a little bit more about that a bit later in the podcast. But of course, if you want to check out the show notes for this episode, you can find all those and more over at update.show. We have a friends chat that you can find in game at Bits Bytes, and the community Discord is over at update.show/Discord. So before we get into what the monthly bit is going to be that we're giving out to people on Archaeology, in terms of this graphical update, I did have a chance to speak with Zant about this, and he said one of the things that popped up in his mind for this piece of content in general is that when it comes to environments like this, he said he's starting to see that they're using effectively the same rock kits, as an example, in various parts of the world, and at some points in this Waterbirth Island graphical rework, you can kind of see a little bit of the asset reuse in that in terms of where they were placed on that, and that was his only real criticism of it. But looking at it overall from top to bottom, I mean, it's just that new level of immersion for practically everywhere in game, and I think this one was definitely deserved compared to some of the A and B images that they provide, given that Fremennik and Lunar Isle has also been graphically updated recently.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot clearer. It's a lot more modern. I mean, it looks fine. It looks fine. I don't really know what else to say about it.
And see, that's really all we had to say on this topic, is that it just fits in, and it brings that corner of the world into the next generation for RuneScape. Whether you're going there for a Slayer task underneath or a clue scroll step, maybe.
What's the clue step that's here? I didn't think there was one on Waterbirth.
I thought there was. Maybe I'm gaslighting people.
Phantom clue step. I don't
Oh,
know. I mean, is there
um,
not even a clue step here? It's literally just access to the dungeon.
you know what?
I guess it. I guess it's in a. You go here in a quest, don't you?
Yeah, you know what the funny bit is that I think there's a clue step underneath in the actual dungeon
That could
itself.
be.
Maybe. Oh,
I don't know.
or I know what I'm doing. I'm thinking of the wrong game.
Oh, is
there's a
there's a clue step in old school?
there is an old school clue step here
Ah,
atop the island. Yep.
okay,
That's
cool,
exactly what I'm thinking of.
cool. So this is an island that exists purely for quests and accessing the
Snapegrass
dungeon below, which didn't even get updated.
and Snapegrass.
And yeah, and Snapegrass
Yeah.
spawns.
Very
Yay.
copiously, very copiously. And that, folks, is why we are going to be presenting our monthly bit on Archaeology 5 years later. We recorded this one in April of 2025, and we thought, if we're going to release a monthly bit this week, let's continue on with the Archaeology push, because last week was the Archaeology dig site, and we made the connection that Moonrise was such a great example of archaeology doing what it does best, world building within RuneScape. So, with that, on this monthly bit, looking at archaeology 5 years later, we talk about why it became one of the game's beloved skills for so many people. And, we always question, at least I always question, maybe you're of an interesting opinion on this one, is that I think it was the combination of everybody needing something to do in that time that was early April 2020.
I think that definitely played a role. I mean, I do think even looking back, it's still my favorite skill, just because I do appreciate how it was designed and how it works on a gameplay level. But yeah, like that landed at exactly the time it needed to.
It's also about the time you joined Clan Quest as well, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty close. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Would have been shortly after the release, I think.
All right. But we go over the release and the run-up to Archaeology, the polish that was given in the first couple months of 2020, the various core loops of the skill, the ecosystems involved, artifacts and relics, and how all that factored into making the skill what everybody loves, and of course the lore behind it too. And we talked about what went well, what could have been improved, and how archaeology could have or did influence necromancy and hopefully new skills going forward. So with that, of course, we're gonna move on to that episode right now. This was an episode put forth by myself, Tanis, yourself, Zerdones, and Avernick. So enjoy, everybody, and we'll see you in about an hour and 27 minutes.
Have fun.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another monthly bit here at RSBANDB Update. This month marks 5 years. 5 years since Archaeology came out. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Tanis?
It doesn't feel like 5 years, but
It's the COVID time dilation that ate up like two of those years. I think that's what it was.
I feel like we're in the Kelvin. Is it the Kelvin timeline? No.
I mean, maybe that would be the case. Maybe, but
something has happened.
Something has happened. I agree. But to join us and have a look back at 5 years of archaeology, Zerdones, you weren't even part of Clan Quest when this launched. You joined shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I was. I would have been just coming back when Archaeology came out, because I think I started playing. I took a long break and I started playing again in late 2019.
Nice. And
I didn't even know this was coming, and all of a sudden, boom! We have Archaeology now. Oh, okay.
Amazing. Also, of course, Avernick, you and I weren't connected back then in terms of the podcast, but you definitely played Archaeology on launch.
Oh yes, yeah, that was a big I mean, we were all work from home, so I don't even know if I took time off or just waited for this
right?
The second screen.
Right? and
no one knew what to do with their work time during work from home in the first month or so of the pandemic.
Well, the RuneScape players did.
Yeah.
The RuneScape players did. But in any case, what we're going to do is we're going to look back at 5 years of archaeology and look at the skill, because it's become one of the game's beloved skills for many people out there. Not everybody, but many people. And we'll look back at the release, what went well, what made the skill special, and why it became the gold standard of skill launches. And we'll also, of course, go through the release and place aspects of what archaeology is into categories of what went well, what could have been improved, and how that could and should and maybe was used for the launch of Necromancy. And, you know, I think archaeology here occupies such a warm place in many of our memories of the game going back to this, because our previous skill before archaeology was invention in 2017.
That was
2016.
rough.
Yeah, because
yeah, then it was 20.
It was
We've
2016.
given so many answers to this question. We could just look it up.
Yeah, I feel like it's
folks.
2016.
2016.
So
January
4 years.
2016.
4 years.
Okay, January.
And invention, of course, had the Tannis. We talked about the infamous 48-hour buff or nerf that people had that completely changed the way that the skill was trained. And it's like, how do you recover from that? Well, I guess the answer is you hit it out of the park in terms of archaeology. So
well, you come in with a whole different way of looking at skills
and producing the game, of course.
Producing the game.
Now, we'll get into how all this tees up, but of course, a big, huge thank you to all of our Patreon members for allowing us to do the podcast and all these extra little bits and bobs that we do. Hopefully, you enjoy these, and of course, big, huge thank you to everybody. And tell a friend about what's available on Patreon, and maybe they'll subscribe. I wish we had some sort of Patreon referral thing. That would be neat to see if Patreon could do something like that. But unfortunately, I don't think such a program exists in the Patreon code base. But so let's just start off with the release and run up to archaeology. And do you guys remember the fact that the skill was initially slated to come out in January of 2020? The first update of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, was that a convenient decision.
Well, it needed more polish. So
yes, but if RuneScape players hate anything, it's a content drought.
Right. Which 2019 was, right?
Generally, yeah.
Because it didn't really kick into high gear until we got the 120 farming and Herblore before Thanksgiving. And then
Anachronia hit, and then not much happened after until farming and Herblore.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you can kind of, with that, read between the lines as to where the team was on that and the changes that had to be made. And I think following archaeology and ironing out the kinks of the pandemic work experience, they were actually able to deliver some banger tentpole pieces of content there during the pandemic. But
the delay was a blessing in disguise. Not only do you get the polish, but
we got War's Retreat.
If you're going to have a content drought, okay, cool. Not that. We did get War's Retreat, but we needed that content when it did drop, right? Like, yeah, because it was Archaeology and Tiger King. Like, we needed that. We weren't doing anything else.
Because when did... I feel like it was like, what was it? Like the second or third week of March is when things started shutting down, right?
Yeah.
March is when things kicked into high gear. March going into early April.
Yeah.
March, early April.
And a lot of people don't realize this, but this was the first update, aside from a test update that had some dummy code in it, that they actually shipped remotely.
Well, yeah, because they basically they took that time to figure out, okay, how do we make a game from our bedrooms? A game of this scale. That's a hard thing to do.
It is.
Luckily, a lot of the work was done ahead of time, but yeah.
It is. And I shudder to think at all the questions and the I's that were dotted and T's that were crossed just to get the game's launch mechanism that does the weekly updates working remotely.
I'm sure it was a lot of duct tape hopes and dreams.
Yeah. And
yeah, I mean, if your pipeline isn't set up for remote access, like from outside of your corporate intranet, like that's not trivial to set up.
no. Mm-hmm. And given the fact that it was put together in under 2 weeks, I think says volumes about what they were able to accomplish with that and deliver it on March 30th. And in terms of the release, the thing that I remember with it is that it felt like that launch high that came from that persisted well into April and maybe even into May, of just seeing people at all the various archaeology dig sites out there and, people playing content together. I think that's one of the things that resonates to me. And I think that given the time that we were all living in then, that's a kind of an important thing to look back on for this.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely, it felt very full.
And we'll get to that because that's important.
Yeah, there's some reasons why that I think helped it very well. That we'll get into that. But... yeah,
and whether or not that's good or bad. I also remember that we did the Clan Quest group picture at the Caradat dig site. You remember that, Sir Dones, or were you joined yet at that point?
I've seen it. I wasn't joined yet. I think I joined in June.
Okay, that's when we recruited Quester shit at that picture. No, seriously, that is someone's name in Clan Quest.
Yeah. Yep. April 1st, you're right. Converted yet? April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah, you got Master Quest Point Cape.
Yep.
But
so he's just a hater for love of the game.
We changed his name in the Discord to Quests Are Really Great. He's still mad about it.
But all these things kind of bottle up in terms of what archaeology was on launch. And before we get into a lot of the bits and bobs about how it got there, I was fortunate enough at that point in time to receive a package from Jagex that included the 120 archaeology cape in it, an IRL one, a resin-based monolith sculpture, and a letter from Maud Osborne, who, of course, was lead designer at that point in time, and talked a bit about the skill's origin. And I just want to share a couple of points from this one again. The first note when they started talking about something archaeology was July 30th of 2018. And with that,
not too long after invention.
Exactly. And with that, the other skill ideas that they were considering were, brace yourselves, sailing, trading, animal training, necromancy, and spellcrafting.
I see shades
some
of
familiar names in there.
Cool.
What was that, Sir Dones?
I see shades of this that went into old school.
Right.
Sailing, animal training got pulled, or something very like animal training got pulled.
Shamanism it was, I believe it was.
Yeah, that sounds right.
No. They said as well that archaeology grabbed no one because people expected something dusty and lifeless that was basically just digging. Instead, necromancy and to a degree sailing and spellcrafting were the front runners internally on this. But when they actually laid down the description of what archaeology was and the features, everything about it being fantastical, the idea of navigating lost areas, puzzles, the team of archaeologists, solving mysteries of the God Wars, archaeology was the one that they ultimately decided to go with, even though necromancy, they say, took the crown of winning the thing that checked the most boxes of what they wanted to do. And I guess, maybe that's why we got Necromancy after the fact. And they started work on Archaeology in September 2018. And then the rest is history from there, being unveiled the name being unveiled in a live stream in 2019 and a preview build at RuneFest 2019 as well. So overall, I think when you look at the package here and the release, I think that this probably goes in the went well category, and I think we owe a large portion of that, in addition to the polish aspect of it, probably to the pandemic.
It went well as an understatement.
Yeah, really could not have asked for better timing.
Yeah, for an update that was so under the spotlight, fire under its ass, it was do or make or break.
Yeah, exactly. Because when you think about it, imagine if this would have flopped and only would have had 3 weeks of fire behind it, kind of like Necromancy did, right? Initially. So
yeah, you end up in a bad spot optics wise.
Yeah.
Well, and it's the kind of thing that's going to have a long tail too, because if this, so many resources went into making Archaeology. If that had gone over like a squib, petered out in 3 weeks, well, now what's next? Everyone's going to be saying, okay,
no more new skills
next?
for a while.
Well, not even no more new skills, but this landed in March. What do you have for us in April? And Jag is like, we've had our entire studio working on this. We don't have anything for April.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we actually did get in April 2020, but it wouldn't have been anything like this.
Relatively dry till we did Desperate Measures.
Probably, but that's because you didn't need it. We had
a Shattered Worlds Ninja Strike in April 2020.
Yeah,
sure.
We had some Archaeology patches, DXP,
time limited event, the drop.
Yeah, the drop, DXP.
May
was like July, May, TLE, Yak Track in June. So yeah, we were. It was very quiet because Archaeology
ate up all the.
You had Archaeology,
everything,
and nobody complained about working on Archaeology all that time.
No,
I don't think. I mean, maybe there were people who did, but it wasn't the vast majority.
I think this somewhat goes to how the skill is structured.
Okay,
that it kind of requires that kind of time to settle.
Yeah, and we'll get into that with the leveling because I have my own thoughts on it after sampling with the GIM. But let's just talk about some of the polish because I feel like that was something else that was immediately apparent with it. Is that I remember asking, what was some of the things you did for polish, and they said, well, the addition of the banks and deposit, restoration station at each dig site was something that was part of the polish, and later, of course, we got the summoning obelisks as well there. But I think another thing that, aside from the physical things in the world that help with that, I think another thing that helped a lot with making Archaeology feel complete and the skill that it was is the collection log. Because I think if you remove the collection log from Archaeology, what do you have?
Not enough going on.
Well, I mean, you have your core loop. I think the thing that makes Archaeology made it so impactful is it was so unique, and we didn't have a reference point for what it is and what it turned out to be. So the collection log, I feel like, made it complete. But you have your core loop, you have your mysteries, you have the gathering aspects, you have the
it felt complete
aspects.
I think that's what you say, is that it feels complete.
Yeah,
because compare this, I remember making this comparison on Necromancy launch week or shortly thereafter, I said one of the things with Necromancy that bothered me was that it felt like I had, no direction coming off of Archaeology. Whereas, we discovered basically with Necromancy that the meta from 1 to 40 was to do the first set of, soul communions, and then from 40 to 90 you basically go and do combat, and then you come back and then just run rituals after that. And the question with that is that, well, that's kind of simple, yet at the same time it doesn't have the same sort of direction and the complete feeling that Archaeology had. So I think that Completeness definitely is one huge check mark there for it.
Yeah, well, it's a double-edged sword because, it's very structured. It's a skill that it has a very clear progression, and there's a very clear way to train it. And, that in itself can have pros and cons. For all the flaws of Necromancy, that kind of, here's a skill, figure it out. That's very RuneScapey, that's very MMO, very RPG type mechanics. So Archaeology stands out as being a little bit weird in that very strict structure. It's similar to Dungeoneering in a lot of ways, and I think that's I'll touch on a few more times as we go through.
The way you're describing it's making me think of how well or not well some of these skills fit into other pieces of the game, like XP lamps and stuff like that. Like Necromancy works very well with those things because older skills where it's fine if you get half of the XP in a level. But Archaeology, and skip ahead. If Archaeology, you start shooting yourself in the foot because you fall behind on all the things that aren't XP.
Yes. Yeah, Archaeology is fascinating because it's the only skill, I think, that actively discourages you or actively punishes you for engaging in pretty much anything that's not just leveling the skill.
Yeah, and I feel I started this adventure this weekend here at level 25 on my group Iron Man character, and I got to level 25 from a few restoration dailies during the Christmas event that I had to do, because you had to do all your daily challenges during Christmas. And I feel like that hasn't ruined the skill to a degree that my skill peer was ruined by having Treasure Hunter put on it, but it doesn't feel as organic as the first run without any sort of bonus XP or lamps or any of that other kind of fun stuff felt.
Well, because you start hitting barriers. You start hitting, I've unlocked this new dig site, I have all these new materials, my material storage is full. I can't buy the new upgrade because I need to get the new qualification, which means I need to go and grind 100 artifacts or whatever.
And it's easy to blame things like Treasure Hunter or free lamps or whatnot right now, but I think that this is probably also a problem that will start to become more prevalent as they add more stuff into the skill, just because the more stuff you have more compacted into the levels, you're going to level up faster and start missing checkpoints.
But we didn't have that when it launched.
Not when it launched, no, but yeah.
Yeah, and I know, so there's kind of, I know how you're supposed to train Archaeology. I'm not going to lie. I've never trained Archaeology the way it's supposed to be trained.
What do you mean?
I trained that course.
Hey, okay. I just want to I just want to go with that because that's very interesting. But how do we? I feel like, and I just want to say one thing here on this. We need to put the polish thing into a category, in particular that maybe that's something they tried with Necromancy, but I don't necessarily know that it landed where they wanted to with Necro.
Depends on which part you're talking. I think that the act of doing Necromancy combat is very polished. The abilities you get and the things you do, as far as the level up and the gear progression and all those other things, maybe less so.
I think the gear progression's pretty good. Well, at least it was different. It was new. It was ambitious. And I'm not a combat expert, so there probably are like pros and cons, but just as a concept, that was cool.
Okay, so I'm going to put that in the influence necromancy category then. So you mentioned, Tanis, that you don't train archaeology properly. What, in your view, is the proper way to train it, and how do you train it? And this gets into the discussion on the core loop and leveling and whatnot.
Well, archaeology is one of these skills that really incorporates everything. It incorporates mysteries, but I don't necessarily consider mysteries part of the core loop. I consider go, dig, excavate, get artifacts, restore artifacts, core loop.
At the highest level one that you can.
Yeah, you know, shake the sand.
Well,
you know.
but see, here's the thing. I don't necessarily know that I'd put the mysteries in the core loop either, because I think when you distill it down, and Zerdone Zavernik, you tell me if I'm heading the right way on this, it's excavate, gather materials, optionally, sift the sand, optionally, then restore artifacts, then go and repeat. Is that a good way of describing the core loop of archaeology?
I think that is a lens of looking at it like other skills, like a divination or like a crafting. In my mind, the core loop is unlock new area, explore it, figure out what your goals are, and then do the excavation loop at typically the highest you can do it at, but maybe small adjustments to hit collections, and then try to hit those exploration goals.
Okay.
But maybe I'm looking at a little more zoomed out, where focusing more on the exploration side and the mystery side.
Interesting. Would have been neat to have you on when the skill came out. Anyways, go ahead, sir.
Time runes don't do time travel yet. Not yet. I would take a middle ground between the two of you, I think, because I think you're both right. I think part of the strength of archaeology, part of what makes it so unique, and part of what makes it so engaging is that it has multiple intersecting loops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in pure gameplay terms, like Tanis and Shane, you're absolutely right. Core gameplay terms, the core loop is gather artifacts, gather materials, restore, donate, repeat. There's a secondary core loop, which is, discovering the dig sites and exploring the dig sites. And mysteries kind of tie into that a little bit, where the mysteries are, and the mysteries intersect with the primary loop to give you a distraction and give you something else to do. Then there's a third core loop around filling out the collections, not necessarily not the collection log, but like the individual collections, and evening out your collections. That there's a small loop. Research is another loop. You go in and here's this other task that you have in the background.
See, that's interesting, because I feel like in all my archaeology, I did very little research. I only did what was basically required.
Exactly, but that's why when we talk about loops, I just clicked. It's like links in a chain.
Yep.
Like there's a little bit of overlapping, because the mysteries open up certain parts. Like you have to do certain mysteries to open up certain other areas to get to the highest excavation area.
So it's like a finely woven chain then when you zoom in on it.
Yeah, I guess it is, but when I think about it, I always thought about, I
gameplay
grinded,
loop.
Yeah, and I grinded that gameplay
at the highest level you could, regardless of collection, unless you needed to go and complete a certain relic.
Oh, yeah, only for I would do it for the objects that I needed. So I needed an auto sifter, so I would do whatever I needed to get that much for that. Yeah.
I think that the parallel goals and loops really scratch the niche, where even if you're doing the one part that you consider more boring, you can be thinking about and working towards a different part you might consider more fun. I think that came out a lot in the 110 mining and smithing update, where you could be like trying to upgrade your pickaxe while looking for the lore books while trying to upgrade your ore box. And I think that was a very short version of that worked for like 2 hours. But definitely having a lot of parallel things going on makes it so it's not like divination where you're just at the skilling spot doing the skilling loop and nothing else,
or fishing and then just running it to a bank.
Right.
Like, speaking for myself, when I was training, I was very resistant for a long time towards both the auto screener and using porters. I didn't actually start using porters until high 90s, I think. Not even sure if it was before 99. But the reason for that is because I liked the loop of I'm excavating until I fill up my soil box, and then that's a queue I can go and I can engage with the sifting, which is a different activity. Then I can go from there into restoring my artifacts. It gives me nice defined chunks where I'm rotating between all these different aspects of the skill, and it keeps me from getting bored. Keeps me engaged.
I don't know if I felt bored at all going to 120.
All the way to 120, that's impressive. I think probably near the end I was feeling it, especially because Orthan wasn't out.
Right.
Yeah, I think I took a little bit of a break in and around the 80s, I think.
I mean, it kind of helped that I got 2 of the spear tips at that last dig.
That
lucky.
And I stayed there for like ever. I mean, I didn't move around even when Orthan came out. I mean, I did what I needed to do, but I went right back after more spear tips. That was my 120 grind.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing about... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was also going to say, I remember people, hunting tetra compasses too, because our discussion of loops, that's just another little distraction you can do off the edge.
For those cluers, yeah.
I have every piece that I ever...
You never
made it that
hunted one down?
No.
You could be sitting on billions of GP, Tanis.
It's at least millions. Like, they are still...
For real?
All the stuff
so many,
yeah.
So many Tony's Maddox.
Huh.
You're missing out on.
Yeah.
Every Tony's Medic in the world.
Tanis had them all.
Yeah.
And because I think there's so many loops beyond that first one we talked about, which I'd say is like the leveling loop, right? Excavating, restoring. I think that gives the other it kind of reframes what the archaeology sites we've gotten post-launch can be, because they're not just about adding in the ability, like better XP rates or a way to get through those tough levels. There's others, all the other loops still apply, even though we're all level 120, or I assume. Like, there's still the mystery, the exploration loop. There's still the collection loop.
Yep.
Tony's Maddox sitting at 4.4 bill right now.
Damn.
So do those tetra compasses. You never know.
Yeah, it's like a clue.
Roll them dice.
No,
right?
it's
a one-step clue.
It's a one-step clue, and it points you directly where you need to go.
Yeah, it's just a compass. That's all it is.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Right? Now the money eyes are coming on, right?
The gears are turning.
I always thought it was a clue, and I'm like,
no.
Oh, man.
You
just
will
just
have
one
a
compass.
lot of damaged artifacts.
That's okay. Very cool. Okay. All right.
But I feel like the core loop of archaeology is something that, we were turned on to in that first week. And it's something that us as, people who 3 out of the 4 of us have either a computer science or engineering background in here. Tanis also works in tech, and we've brought him along the way for this sort of design type stuff. So it's always something that's immediately on the forefront for us here, I think.
Yes, you have taught me a lot.
And I think when we looked for what the core loop in Necromancy was, there were just so many of them, and it was kind of confusing, and it just wasn't immediately as elegant, I think, in Necromancy.
I think the thing about Necromancy is they you can see them trying to do something similar with, like, there's exploration in the city of and there's the
gears
ritual
loop and the souls loop and the the quests. The quest loop is kind of like the mystery part of it.
Yeah.
Exploration.
But yeah, they don't quite fit together as well. I think part of that is because, and I remember mentioning this on or shortly after Necromancy launched, the rituals felt kind of tacked on.
And yet they're the best training method.
And yet they're the best training method.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like, the thing about archaeology is it all fits together. You're interacting with everything sort of all at the same time. Like Tanis mentioned this earlier. Like, you go into a dig site and you're going and you're digging, and you find a page, a lore book page. You started a mystery, or you need to progress the next area. There's a mystery. You're going. You're just sort of, that incentivizes you to go and look around and explore. It's that exploration loop. You click on something, you got a special research. What's this research? I should go check that out. Whereas Necromancy is a little bit more siloed.
Mm-hmm. And in a weird way, because I think it's really fighting between being like archaeology with all those different loops and then just being a combat skill.
Mm-hmm.
The combat skill part of it is I think the thing that doesn't mesh as well with the other parts. Where it probably originated and wants to most be the combat skill part.
Yeah. And I think that's why when you look at this and, from this loop perspective, one of the perspectives on it is that it was almost near perfect, and definitely one of the things that went well in the skill. And I want to go to the next thing, specifically what you highlighted, Zerdones, about how there's similarities between archaeology and dungeoneering, which isn't necessarily something most people would think of. And there's an argument to be made as well that having an entirely closed ecosystem within the skill might not necessarily be the best thing when the goods from the skill don't interact with anything else.
Yeah, I think this is one of my main criticisms of archaeology, is that fact. It's very disconnected. I think in our chat I dropped the hot take that nobody reacted to, that archaeology is an expansion. It's kind of its own thing.
You can do a lot of it without other skills, and it doesn't feed into other skills too much.
Yeah. You do need a little bit, like you need a certain smithing level in order to make the wingsuit. You need certain items, like you need weapon poison to make the stink grenades. There are some other integrations, but like
ancient invention, ancient summoning.
Ancient invention, ancient summoning are the big ones.
It's not like the core input into it is ore, right? From mining.
Right. The input is essentially a domain currency. The output is an item that you basically can't. The only thing you can do with the item is either feed it back into the skill or convert it into invention components.
And a fun time on your hands and knees.
I
think that's a big component of these gathering / artisan skills. Like, I think invention with the components and whatnot can feel a little similar.
Invention definitely can. I think the thing about other skills is that generally the items still feel valuable. Or I shouldn't say that. They have intrinsic use, whereas in archaeology their uses are much more limited.
Right. Specifically, the stack of artifacts that's still sitting in my bank 5 years later.
Right.
Has the game run out of places to have items have use, though?
No, I don't necessarily
think so.
Many
skills that feed into combat, right? Like, almost everything feeds into combat.
Yeah.
What else is there? It's that or XP gains, right? Or convenience. Like porters and whatnot.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, there's skilling buffs, combat buffs, consumables like potions, food, things like that. Alchemy for gold, grand exchange for gold, which the archaeology hits for the materials but not for the artifacts. Invention, which is its own kind of thing.
Yeah, and I guess the artifacts in themselves don't have much use, and that's why the collectors have to exist, and then
Right.
which then turns into chronotes, and that's why it has to cost chronotes to change your relics.
Right. Yeah,
to give them
that's the
use.
secret. That's why chronotes. Yeah,
And
That's why relic switches will be free.
And then that hops on to the track of what you were talking about with tying into dungeoneering.
right. Dungeoneering is it's its own. It's very siloed. It has no inputs outs from the outside, with very few exceptions. Like it's the outfit, perfect plus, and the cape, and I think that's it. Wild cards. Everything is self-contained. There's limited things you can get out of Dungeoneering. At launch of Dungeoneering, it was Chaotix, but Chaotix, like, that was always going to be a ticking clock, because Chaotix were not going to remain valuable forever.
Now it's a lot of random one-off items.
Yeah,
From the
right.
workshop.
It's a lot of scroll of efficiency or whatever. And I think that's why it often gets derisively called a mini game.
Yep.
Because it's effectively it's a way to gather a domain currency and then spend it at a shop.
Which you can chalk up. The way I see it is, I chalk everything up with Dungeoneering to being, the last major piece of content that Andrew Gower worked on for the game, and it was his idea to do something different for RuneScape, something that actually started off as a different game entirely itself, and then just putting it in RS2 at the time.
Well, he definitely succeeded at that.
Yeah, I see that as being the story of how we got Dungeoneering, because I mean, like, what other purpose and point is there? It took years and years to get the add-ons in terms of the material, dungeons and whatnot, to actually have a meaningful impact on the surface world.
I think the other way archaeology feels a little disconnected is in the environments themselves, which, preface, the environments are gorgeous. I love them to death. They're some of my, like, Everlight is amazing, specifically, but they're all incredible environments, and the game is better for having them. But also, like, outside of archaeology, what's the point of them?
Right.
You only go to them for archaeology. Now that's something that they're
we do
starting to change.
We do Caradet for Azenadja's quest.
Okay, so quests occasionally.
Sometimes quests now, over time. But, like, not other skilling stuff,
and
right?
110 crafting is going to be changing that with porcelain mining and Everlight.
Mm-hmm.
But up until now, it's just, they're gorgeous environments, but they're very single use, which makes them feel very disconnected, as opposed to, like, you can be wandering through the countryside and, oh, there's a tree, I'm going to do some wood cutting. Next to, here's a mining spot, here's a quest NPC, here's a bank,
but they did kind of give us that in the rest of the world, bringing archaeology to it with the material hotspots, which again is a topic for discussion about should they have been made deplete like they do, or should they have been similar to what we have now with mining and smith or mining and woodcutting at the higher level. So, but I feel like that's almost secondary to the actual artifacts of the dig site itself.
Yeah, the material caches are interesting because I'm interested. I feel like I have heard this, but I can't remember it. I'd be interested in hearing the design conversation behind adding them, because I know that the purpose of, like, after a certain level, I don't know off the top of my head where that level is, but after a certain level, you won't get enough materials from excavating to restore all of the artifacts that you got in that same period. Like, if you go and you dig for an hour, you will get, say, 4 artifacts and enough materials to restore 2 of them.
That happened to me already at level 35 in the source with the need for gold.
And that's take long.
And that's deliberate. Yeah, that's on purpose, because they wanted to create an economy of materials where there's an economic incentive to trade with other players. And that ties into, like, the multiplayer aspect of the MMO. So in that light, the materials cache is an interesting design element. Because on the one hand, it feels like it's mainly there for Iron Men. But I guess it's also there, like it helps keep the value of materials from getting too high,
Yeah.
I guess would be
Because wasn't there, Tannis, was it the sand or was it the some of the mid to high level materials in the first week that the fleet was involved in? Materials, yeah.
Yeah.
Without even touching.
Well, I mean, they were
the
doing
skill.
sand, but it's for material, right?
Right.
So,
Okay.
Right.
yeah.
So,
But also the inconvenience of the material caches and how they deplete is also what keeps the materials worth something,
Right.
as opposed to just being. Never underestimate how much someone will AFK things.
Right. Like to bring the comparison, since you made the comparison to mining, what is ore worth as in trade value?
right.
Ores are worthless.
I remember after the mining and smithing rework came out, they were shocked at how many people just had the desire to go and AFK the new mining and smithing update, to the point that everything they put out crashed even beyond their wildest expectations.
Yeah.
Never underestimate.
Yeah, so never underestimate the
Not in this
people's
game.
ability to AFK. But I guess to kind of just tie all these things together, you have an ecosystem that's inherently closed up. You wind up with a stack of artifacts after 120, and you would need to go out and either buy the materials or excavate them yourself to complete them.
I think one of the biggest misses of archaeology, and this literally just clicked for me now, so I haven't really thought about this at all, is I wish there was something you could do with damaged artifacts other than restoring them.
Yeah, because they're
I have
just
a ton
sitting in
of
your bank.
low-level. Right, I have a ton of low-level artifacts that I got from Tetra compasses that, yeah, I mean, I could go and restore them and donate them or disassemble them or whatever, but I'm not motivated to, because I don't need the XP, because I'm 120 and I don't care about 200 mil.
Is the solution to create a Chronote sink then?
I mean, it could be a Chronote sink. It could be a... I don't know. I mean, even if I could just, like, give them to... Like, I'm the guild master now. I can give them to one of my underlings, and I'll get, like, a tiny bit of XP for it or something.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's banks are full.
Yeah, and you know, that makes sense. That is definitely something that could be improved on that. Where does everybody fall down on the ecosystem being closed? Like, I didn't mind it going through the skill. I don't see it as a problem. I think it went okay.
Yeah, I think it made a decent economy of. Granted, it's a bit internal, but like, I think sometimes RuneScape plays pretty well when the gameplay leans towards Iron Manning it, even if it's not enforced.
You know, that's
like
actually
it just
a good
feels
way.
good to do things yourself.
Yeah,
but like, you can't be 100%. Otherwise, why do we trade things? And that's where I think some of that friction has to come in to grease the wheels of capitalism.
I love that. I love that.
So I think it worked out pretty well.
Okay, Tannis.
As in greasing the wheels.
No, in terms of where the ecosystem lands.
Oh, I really liked the way that the ecosystem was.
Okay.
I feel like it's a hallmark of
the skill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll put that under that category. And I think Zerdones, your Dungeoneering link up there is something that I don't think any of us had thought of before. I think you mentioned it before on a podcast or two, though.
I might have done. I feel like it clicked for me. I was typing in our chat last night, I think. But it's entirely possible that my magnificent brain came up with it in the past and I just forgot. For legal reasons, that is a joke.
What about the material economy? What should I put that under?
Necessary evil?
It's definitely something that you can
Could be
see the
better.
impact of in Necromancy with
Okay.
like all of Necromancy's. And I think
Oh, like the
It's going-
inks and whatnot.
the inks, the ectoplasm, the memories, like I think it's going to be a reality of new skills, partly because, like, to Avernick's point earlier, do we really need more uses for existing items? But also because, like, I think one of the problems with Necromancy partly as a result of being a combat skill is XP is so easy to get. You can, like, the first 99 was in Necromancy was in, like, less than a day, I think.
Yeah, I think it was 18 hours.
First 120 was not much longer than that. So, like, to some extent, it's going to need to be a closed economy or a closed ecosystem just to prevent it from being, like, to keep the skill engaging over some length of time. And, like, that's never going to be perfect, because I know, like, even with Archaeology, people doing the 200 mil race, they were spending exorbitant sums to buy materials on the Grand Exchange. But there's always going to be those min-maxers, but the average person is going to have this extended engagement period just because there's no other option. And you kind of need that. Like, a new skill is pretty much the biggest piece of content RuneScape can put out as an update. If that falls flat after 2 weeks, that sucks.
Yeah, and to be fair, Necromancy, the focus fell off in Necromancy not because of the skill itself, but because of Hero Pass.
That didn't help.
It derailed a lot of things, yeah. That if we're doing the retrospective on Necromancy, that's a big part of it in the same way.
Oh, we will. We'll come back in 2028 for that if we're all still here and kicking.
I think Necromancy
context matters.
Got poo-pooed a little bit too on the higher end of things.
You're right.
Definitely.
You're right. But hey, look at where Magic and Ranged are right now. They punch ahead of Necromancy and DPS. Anyways, that's a topic for another show. All right, everyone, we're going to take a short break from discussing archaeology, and I just want to give a big, huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters this week for allowing episodes like this monthly bit to happen, and the monthly bit that's going to be recorded in about a week or so. The options on the table are Fixing Invention, What is RuneScape, and Does RuneScape Teach Itself? Patreon members are currently out there voting for that right now, so if you want to get in on that action, patreon.com/RSBANDB, just like these people did, including Alvaro L., Amos Reed, Arvids L., Bladecom, Chilbura, Dominic R., Duramax, Forceful Turd, Gila Fleur, Imperialis, Jade Gizmo, Jason S., Jesse W., Julia W., Kesky, Lemon Lodge, Luminos, Mattman, Mighty Myth, Michelle M., Mike Wings, Mongrath, Parnassius, Ricky A., Robbie D., Samuel FL, Sanguine RX, Scott DS, Shirt Pants, Oasis, Smavin, Snail Mage, Squidman 8, The Naked Captain, The Dabbing Goat, Tim, Ukulele Steve, Woody, Zant, and Zazakon. If you want to get in on what the next monthly bit is going to be or access the entire back catalog of 95 extra monthly bits, patreon.com/RSBNB for as little as $1 a month. You get a thank you in our show notes and access to that entire back catalog, plus voting rights on upcoming monthly bit topics. Then for $3 a month, you have our community tier where you get rank in Discord and a special chat channel. And of course, with that, high quality stereo versions of the podcast. And being that part of our community tier, that also opens up the option for you to take part in just being asked about many things about this podcast, submitting your ideas, whether that be for monthly bit topics for quiet weeks, our community nights, which we're actually doing one on this Sunday. We're having what's called Meet the Creatures. The Patreon members get a little bit of FaceTime with you, Zerdones. You looking forward to that?
It's me. I'm the creature.
Yeah, I brought that forward because it's kind of like Meet the Parent night at Teachers, except, you know, with a podcast co-host, it might as well be a creature, right? So
it's true. It's us and the Congress critters.
Yeah, Exactly.
We know what we are.
There we go. But we also do have our insider tier for $5 a month, where you get a weekly shout out on the show, access to our expanded clip archive and outtakes, and of course, with this, you'll also receive the RSBANDB update Christmas card at the end of the year. Patreon.com/RSBANDB, and thank all those people who signed up and are supporting RSBANDB update, because that is exactly why you're hearing this episode right now on Archaeology. But back to the show. Next section, leveling Archaeology.
It was slow, and that was good.
Yeah. It's the skill that forces you to it almost forces you to be an Iron Man.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like Necromancy. Jesus, we're on Necromancy. I feel like Archaeology on my fresh start account was broken because of the XP multipliers. I feel like the few lamps I put and bonus XP I put on it on my skill pier to get to certain levels broke the skill. I feel like even just doing a few daily challenges around Christmas time, which got me to level 25 Archaeology on my group Iron Man character, also kind of put me in a bad position to kind of just cruise through the skill as we did 5 years ago. So I think Iron Manning, it's the best way to go. I also think that even with Sentistan and Orthan out there now, we talked about this a lot on the group Iron Man side, and it's still true today. There is a slow chunk of Archaeology between level 60 and 85-ish.
You know, and I don't think I've ever done Archaeology where there was a lamp available, because I did it on release, and then I've only did it recently in Iron Man.
And Fresh Start, you did some, right?
I don't think
did
so.
you?
I think no, I don't think I did. I think if I did, it was dummies. Just
wow. Okay.
From other stuff, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I think there's a risk over time, over infinite time, as this game continues to outlive everyone's wildest imaginations, that if you add enough actual Archaeology content like dig sites and whatnot, it does start to get too packed with mystery XP drops and research, and you start to outlevel things. I think we're probably a little ways off that, and hopefully maybe we figure out how to up the level cap or something by then. But
well, I don't know if you saw
there's a risk.
I don't know if you saw the talk from RuneFest.
I've been saying 130s for the past year. I was so excited.
Okay, so you did see that. Fair enough.
Oh yes. So hopefully by the time we get to Archaeology, 130 Archaeology, we haven't hit that point where it's too fast.
The unfortunate thing is, Mod Jack said that's 15 to 20 years down the road.
If it happens at all.
If it happens.
If people are on board.
That's
Eventually it's going to break. Like, Archaeology is already so delicate that it's going to need some
and
like large design thought put behind it.
And that's why I want to get back to that 60 to 85 section, because I've heard about it from a lot from the group Iron Man side, and it was true back then. And I thought that Sentistan was going to be able to fix this, but everybody I've talked to has said that 60 to 85 push is still just as barren and just as slow as it was previously.
And Daemonheim didn't help either?
Oh, and Daemonheim, right.
That one's at 73, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I mean, these people are from our group. They had the exact same thoughts on that, in that 60 to 85 bunch. So,
well, good thing there's room for a first stage dig site in Havenhive.
Yeah, that would be fun. I did see that. So it also, I think, is exacerbated by the fact you look at the skill guide, and Zerdones, you did this in our production for this episode. It's full, basically. There's something at every level, pretty much.
Pretty much. Like, I think this sort of ties back to what we were saying earlier about the skill being complete. It was astonishingly complete on launch, with not very many large gaps, and the gaps that were there have largely been filled in first by Orthan, then Sentistan, then Daemonheim. So we're at the point where the largest level gap is between levels 5 to 12. And there are only 8 places in the skill guide where there's a gap of more than 2 levels. Of those, 5 of them are before level 29, where the level gap is 4, 5, 6, whatever, but the XP gap is like 4,000. So nothing.
Yeah, those early levels go really fast.
Like 25 to 29, that's a 4-level gap. It's 4,200 XP. The level 25 artifacts give over 600 XP each when you restore them. You do 4 of those, you're golden. Not even touching mysteries. So, like, you very quickly have this problem where you can't really expand horizontally, if that makes sense. Like, there's no more gaps you can fill in. You have to start doubling up. And we do already have some of those. There's plenty of places where there's a choice of things you can do. Usually not very many choices. Mostly it's like there's only 2 spots you can go to. But, and this sort of gets to Avernix's point, the more we add into archaeology, the more stuffed it's going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is, in some ways, it's a strength because it gives you lots of choice, and choice is kind of the core of game design. But it's also, I think, kind of a weakness for Jagex, because now they have this difficulty of, okay, where do we put stuff?
Yeah. And then it loses that impetus for new updates, like when there were gaping holes in skills, and it's like, oh, we got to make a farming update for level 60 to 75 because there's nothing, or something like that.
So the thing I'm wondering then is that why does it feel like there's such a gap between the 60s and the 80s if everything is full up?
I have no idea.
Is it just
maybe the artifact XP doesn't scale as well as the XP level?
Yeah.
I haven't done analysis on that, but
it's probably so smooth until that point that you finally hit the point of like the space between levels has gotten big enough that you start to feel it.
I do definitely remember when I was training it the first time. I don't remember when I hit this, but I reached a point where I thought, the early parts of this skill have not trained me on how to, or have not taught me how to train this skill properly.
Right.
Because early levels, they're so fast.
Yeah,
and
early mysteries and stuff.
Yeah, the mysteries are very concentrated in the early levels. So you're popping levels like candy. You're just exploding particles all over the place.
So that's got to be the thing then, is that's just the natural slowdown point with the basic RS XP curve.
Maybe. I'd have to look at a graph to come down definitively, but it's a good theory.
Okay. And to be fair, I'm not at that point yet, and the 2 people of the group who have done the most archaeology are not here. So this is indeed something we do, I think, plan on listening for again and doing one of our Iron Man skill focuses on, because it's a very important thing to lay down on that. But
to give a little bit of context, I don't have a complete graph, but I do have this from my notes. The last large skill gap in the leveling guide is 78 to 81, 3-level gap.
That's it.
And that 3-level gap is over 500,000 XP.
Right. And keep in mind then the artifacts you're choosing from at that point.
Yeah, what do the level 78 artifacts give you?
I feel like that's the first Daemonheim.
6,500 XP.
Yeah.
It's a Daemonheim. I don't know if it's the first one or not, but yeah, 6,500 XP, and that's the only thing you have to do for 500,000. Okay. Yeah,
So there's the push right there, and what makes it feel that way, combined with the other movements around that you would do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we put that one? Improvement needed? Inspiration for necromancy? What went well? The level bands?
thought it went well
Okay.
because I think that was a big reason why we were still playing Archaeology weeks after it launched.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Has it aged well? Maybe.
It kept us engaged, and like this is what I said earlier about Archaeology is designed to not need a lot of content coming out in the months immediately after launch. This is why Jagex could have a content quote unquote drought, because we're all playing Archaeology, because Archaeology forced us to play it like this.
And maybe it worked better when Archaeology was the new thing to do. Like, there was a lot more interest. When it's then stacked next to all the other things you have to do when leveling a new account, maybe then it starts to show its cracks more.
Yes, that was something that was also brought up, is that when you compare it to how you play the skill with a maxed account, with the porters and everything to that effect, and you compare it to a new account, that also factors into it. Good point. Good point. Tanis, anything else on the leveling branches?
No, I mean, I guess I noticed the space, but it always just felt like RuneScape to me. In fact, I kind of felt like it was the best of both worlds, because you did have this grind, but then you had the restoration where you're like, oh, get me the XP.
Yeah, those big chunky drops.
Yeah. So
seeing that bar up top increase and rotate.
Yeah.
Okay.
That kind of made it all worth it.
All right. Fair enough.
And I think it's probably better working out this way, because it gave the better launch experience, and then it gave us the runway for adding things in later to speed it up.
I think in some ways, like it depends on how your brain is wired and also how you approach the skill. It's something I can see how it would be annoying to people, especially now 5 years later, when it's like, okay, I have so many other things to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right,
I still like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. What about the relics?
The main reason to do the skill.
Right.
The reward.
How do you feel like they stand up today?
Poor man's invention.
Yeah. It's a good way of putting it.
Okay. I feel like... Go ahead, Evan.
Go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I don't know if they've aged well. As in, it gave us just an extra slot to do stuff in that isn't so well defined that you still have to really brainstorm what stuff you want it to do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's worked as a good space that we've added a lot to since. We've had 5 or 6 new relics since.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I feel like a lot of the relics that we have right now, they're pretty much, seated comfortably for that type of gameplay. Like, if you're going to be doing combat, you have a set of relics that you're going to be bringing in. You very rarely change them out.
Has the combat ones even changed since launch? I feel like those have been
and
sat, and then there's no room to do anything better or different with
right.
combat
And
ones.
the biggest change I saw was some people picking up Blessing of Head when Raziel came out, just because even for people who knew what they were doing in PVM, it asked you to use so much food. But before that, you had your three sets, your three that you.
I think that's I don't disagree with you, Avernick, but I think that's a limitation of the. I don't want to say the combat system. Let's say of the combat experts, where of all this is a game we play a game full of min-maxers, and the combat experts are the min-maxiest of the min-maxers.
Picks the Luck of the Dwarves relic?
Hey! I have been rocking Luck of the Dwarves.
Yeah, it is used on the combat side.
Probably not on the combat side, but I use it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the relic system, we haven't done much for it with it. It kind of just added an extra layer of stuff to not even figure out, just to kit up.
Right,
and
that's what it is. It's an extension of I think we talked about this in the skill expression bit. is part of what makes part of how skill expression works in skilling is gearing.
Yeah.
And this is a different kind of gearing. Although it's
Right,
a little bit more
but-
annoying because you can't do it at a bank unless you have the cape.
Right, but there's also a thing that when it comes to the relics, if you're looking at certain skills, most relics only have one, if they're lucky, relic that you can choose for them.
So there's not much choice going on.
Yeah, sometimes
I-
there's two,
one.
but yeah.
Like I know the farming relic that prevents herbs and whatnot from
Yeah.
dying, or was life changing.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not saying stuff isn't useful on the individual
No, absolutely not.
pieces. I just don't know if the system was that great. Like, this could have just been a collection of stuff. It could have just been like the relics could have been like physical the artifacts
And
that
then
gave you those benefits,
right, and then you put them somewhere to activate them or something to that effect.
Or you wield them like an offhand, or it's some gloves you found and restored. Or
Hey,
something.
it's a skilling offhand.
It could have just been the artifacts. I don't know if the relic system gave us much.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I think the relic system basically gave us a UI. That's effectively what it is. It's a user interface for managing these.
Another passive buff on top of our huge pile of passive buffs.
Right, and keep in mind
Yeah.
how long it took us to get relic presets that just came
yeah.
out like a
5
month and a
years.
bit ago. So, and see, I think I want to put these in the improvement category because I kind of agree with you, Avernick, that there's there's certain relics that just don't feel like they have a use in this day and age. And then you're also forced, in many cases, to just choose a specific relic based on what you're doing. So it's just a no-brainer that you're going to take it. It would be nice if there was more horizontal choice there.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem with reward spaces that are here is a collection of random buffs that we thought up. And some of them hit, some of them don't.
I think it's also like some of them are meant to be valuable for lower levels.
Mm-hmm. Some
and
of
then
them
they become less useful.
some
as
get
used.
destroyed, like the pouch for one.
Yeah, or
Or the mobile one.
How is it that rune crafting has two relics, the pouch one and the abyss one?
this
the
one.
pouch one matter anymore?
Well, not if you have the
Right, at
the new
105.
pouch. It's still reasonably I mean, it's restoring
below
pouches isn't very expensive, but it still has some
No.
value at lower levels.
I think the skilling
I think
relics are probably the most interesting of the bunch, like the flow state one, for example. It makes it so you no longer
That's an
receive
interesting
soil.
choice. Right.
Yeah, I think-
then you're picking.
Right, that's where they really shine, is they can incentivize or encourage those sort of alternate play styles. The divination relic is another
Or
one.
the fishing one that cooks the fish
Yeah.
automatically. Do you use
Yeah.
that one, Tannis, at
The
all
summoning
on your
one.
main?
No.
No, okay.
The new pouch one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I was going to say, at the low level, the endurance relic's really good, but that's 81 archaeology.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, fair enough.
You infinite run by then.
Yeah. So,
Thanks.
that one, you wonder if that even matters. The pickpocketing one is a lifesaver if you do pickpocketing.
What did the pickpocketing one turn into?
Increases the auto rate of pickpocketing by 50%.
Oh, so just do it faster.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I remember it used to be the auto pickpocket. But
Yeah.
that got changed.
Now it just makes
Yeah,
it
that got
faster
changed
because
from
everything is
passive.
auto pickpocket.
Yeah.
So.
Huh.
All right, so that's the relics, and it wouldn't be the archaeology 5 years later if we didn't talk about the lore.
Woo!
Low.
This one is
didn't find
is the what it goes in the what went well. No ifs, ands, or buts.
I disagree.
Really?
Ooh,
I don't
spicy.
think you have 2 points there. I don't think the top one goes into what went well. Where the skill sits in the story now.
Okay, fair enough.
I think there's parts that did work, but I think that the skill, and this was in 2020, so we just had desperate times the year before. We were getting desperate. We were getting to the Elder God War stuff. I think that the way that the skills lore, the meta story, and maybe even some of the dig site mysteries was set up was very much like the Sixth Age era quests, where they were just making promises and saying would do things without like it being something on the schedule or in the plan.
Right.
And that's left for some unsatisfying either conclusions or cliffhangers that just aren't going to get paid off.
Yeah, because like I said, two of the things that I would like to see paid off one day in the archaeology lore angle that I don't necessarily know that we will are that we don't know exactly what the business of the writing on the walls and the Inquisitors was, really all about in the end. I feel like that kind of left us hanging a bit there.
Yep.
Didn't that kind of get touched on in with as an address quest though?
A little bit. It's been very, very vaguely in the background, like that Soren is involved and like
I might need to go read up again on that.
Control them now, but
but
nothing with Tony's been touched.
No, Tony has been yeah,
everybody who got sucked into the monolith is kind of just hanging there.
And it was very much a choice to have all this set up at level 99 archaeology at a point in the game's lifespan where I don't think they would have ever put any follow-up past a level 99.
Right.
Now, maybe different because they're expanding level caps, but then definitely not.
They said at RuneFest that they had a plan for Char.
Yeah, that's
I believe
interesting.
that they have a plan. That doesn't mean that they're going to follow up on it anytime
I think
soon.
the most likely time that would have gotten followed up then would have been the Elder God Wars. Now, we'll see.
And the other one, of course, being that sign of that upside-down codex monolith in the Santista mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and Voss, or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Also, who knows when? Probably eventually they'll get picked up, but...
Well, wasn't the theory that was like a sixth Elder God or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I think it's more something in Erebus.
Right. Because it did have that purpley hinge to it, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was straight up confirmed that it was Erebus. Like, I think it's one of the examine texts. I seem to remember looking into that.
Okay. And
so
and that's not where the story is right now. So both of those are on the cosmic plane, which is something that they said that is not the direction that they'll take things. There's an opportunity to tie those sorts of things in, but that's not going to be the main beat.
It's an awkward tension because games like RuneScape that theoretically have to have stories forever, they need to have these threads that have been seeded so that when they need a story in 2050, they're not pulling a Mazcab and dropping a new planet onto us that we'd never heard of before and saying, they're about this. They can say, oh, hey, remember Zilgar Trog? Yeah, he's a thing now.
Yeah, that's a great example of it being probably way too explicit of we're going to follow up on this, where I think they've gotten better since with Elder God Wars and going on forward with being more like setting things up a little to the side where it doesn't necessitate follow-up in the next immediate amount of time. I think that we have gotten away from the big promises, and I think that there are some dig sites that did it better. I definitely think that all of the dig sites after the initial launch have no Contestants in there. I think that Demonheim and Orthan did it pretty well with self-contained stories.
Yeah, Demonheim did it
or teasing immediate things. Right, Demonheim finished the story. Orthan was teasing out updates that were coming out in a month or two with Raksha and stuff. Right?
The best thing about the Daemonheim story was testing that our edicts were intact.
Yeah, I liked that as like the little
the idea of the door that might crack open a bit in the future, but not right now. Again, there's that storyline should they need it.
Yes, but not. That wasn't like the big end of the mystery. It's gonna happen,
right? It wasn't just sort of dropped quietly as here's a big deal, and then we're just gonna quietly walk away.
Right. I think the Archaeology has done it well sometimes, but there were still enough instances of saying things without having follow-up plan or immediate the ability to immediate follow. They might have had plans, but the ability to follow up.
Yeah, I think it's partly exacerbated by the fact that we did very rapidly change scopes. And so, like, the things Shane mentioned, those no longer are appropriate to bring
But
up.
they knew that at that time. They
No,
were planning
they
out the
didn't.
Elder God Wars series.
No,
my sense was that the Elder God Wars was only planned a month or two in advance from where they were.
the
There's
details
slides.
of the
Don't you
Elder
worry.
Gods.
There's
may have
development
been.
slides of, and we kick out the gods. I'll
Yeah,
link them.
like the details, sure. Looking back, I firmly think they knew they wanted to end the God
Do Twilight
story.
of the Gods.
They may not have known exactly how that was going to happen.
Okay.
But the de-escalation, in retrospect, I think the de-escalation was definitely known at that time. As like, you can, to give a sort of a concrete example, you can see like Zaros' involvement with raising the monolith ties very directly into Azanadra's quest, which is where, and then Battle of the Monolith, which is Zaros leaving the story. Tony being sucked into the monolith, that sort of foreshadows that. It establishes that this is a possibility. It raises that mystery.
So,
we still don't know what happened
like,
to him, but you know where he went.
Is the sense that Zaros knew that he wouldn't be able to enact his plans as he wanted on the world, and that's why he left? Is that the sense of what happened there when he left? Like, that's the way I interpret that. Is that the way you guys interpret that?
My interpretation is that he had his goal in mind of ascending further, and he didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
And then he found he wasn't able to, so he left, or what?
And he thought he had a better chance of doing it in Erebus.
Right. I'm
That's
with
why I
Averick.
brought the gift and whatnot.
Yeah. His goal shifted to no longer include us, and so he left. He went somewhere else.
Okay.
Or I shouldn't say his goal shifted. He realized he wasn't going to accomplish his goal here.
Right. And it was better done in Erebus. And, in many ways, I feel like Azanadra's quest is probably the quest that ties the most into the archaeology stuff.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that.
Yes, and
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, and I think that is what saved the Caradet site from being a cliffhanger. It was pretty self-contained, but I think having the follow-up really helped.
Yeah,
right, because we did get that follow-up to the Vault of Shadows mystery, which I don't think anyone was Well, I mean, I'm sure some people were, but because Vault of Shadows was a very high-level mystery. And
right,
so,
and then they brought it down for the quest.
Down, yeah,
yeah, they had to bring in the fake version for the quest.
And that was a wonderful puzzle in there too.
Yes.
Well, there we have it. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if there's anything else that... I mean, I feel like we could talk about archaeology lore forever, and
definitely
we've done that times before. Does anybody have anything else here before we go?
I mean, I would just say that, it always felt very RuneScape when it came to the lore, and what I mean by that was I never had any expectations of it having start to finish kind of story, but what I thought it was good at was kind of integrating itself into the world of RuneScape and making itself fit by using story.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
yeah,
wait. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think most of this, the elements that we're picking on are the large scale mysteries, things like Vault of Shadows, the Zolos City, things like that. A lot of the smaller lore elements, like the smaller scale mysteries, a lot of the books, and all of the little tidbits of lore that were sprinkled in through item descriptions and entries in the journal, those all work very well, partly because they really don't directly tie in anything. They're just flavor. They're just, oh yeah, this is what the Aviancy were like in the First Age, and that's cool.
Yeah. I think something that Dan said just reminded me that we had this other point of how it paved the way for necromancy and stuff to have more lore in the skills. Like that wasn't an
Right.
expectation before this. I think Invention played with the idea of it being, and Divination played with it, of like, oh, the world's impacting it. It goes back into feeding into the quests. But I think the Archaeology really doubled down on including story and lore in the skill, and I think Necromancy definitely tried to emulate that again. Whether that worked with the combat skill,
I mean, it had its moments, and I think we all agree that Tombs of the Warlock, the Archaeology quest in Necromancy, was one of the highlights for it.
oh yeah, the Archaeology always coming back.
Yeah,
You can definitely see a very clear progression. Like Divination uses story as a framing device, as does Invention to an extent. Archaeology sort of takes it and makes it a core part of the skill, and then Necromancy was just full on a story, like a micro
the
story
Razio
line.
story. It was a micro
Yeah.
quest line
Skill.
in its
Yeah.
own way,
Yeah.
with the highest quest requirement too, level 95 in a skill.
It is interesting that you bring up Invention, because I think Invention was almost what Archaeology was in this regard. And if players hadn't almost uniformly rejected the godless, maybe we would have been having a very different conversation.
Because that is what Invention was supposed to be about, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. It was supposed to be like the godless reshaping the world and
They were just
using the
ahead of their
gods
time.
in their own way. But people hated the godless.
They're just ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Give it
Yeah,
a few
they
years
were
and
too
people
early.
would have been
And I
like,
think-
yeah.
I think I want to end this show tying it all together with Necromancy, with what you said at the start, Tanis, about how Archaeology at the end of the day was more impactful on how skills are going to be designed in the game than when you look at the other big skill update of the day, which was the mining and smithing rework.
Yeah. And what I mean by that is Archaeology had, I guess the word of the bit is complete. It has this ecosystem. It has this core loop. It has the story elements. It has all of these aspects that we recognize today, and brings them together to make a skill more than just a skilling or training method or a way to make money, right? Like, and I absolutely loved the mining and smithing update. But the one thing that it did was to take what we had and make something better, whereas Archaeology reimagined and said, how can we do this whole thing? And
How can we make something new?
yeah. So, and I think going forward, when we see new skills, we will see them in,
Hence what you said about the
Consistent.
capstone.
right. Yeah.
And
It really brings
I do take issue with your it takes the game to its natural conclusion point of view, because I don't think we're there yet.
I can't. So what I mean by that is there is only so much you can do with RS3. And I feel like we're almost kind of there. And Archaeology took those aspects and put them together, so that now we're Taco Bell, right? It's the same ingredients, going to be made the same way, but we're going to change it up, right? You want a burrito? Cool. Here's some lettuce. We got some cheese. Got tortilla. Wrap it up. You want taco? Right on. Get the hard shell. We got some cheese. We got some lettuce. But we're using the same.
Hey, and for once, it's
blueprint that
not me with the
Archaeology
food
made.
analogy.
Yeah, right. But then again, you guys had a good point with the 110 skills, and I think that shows the kind of difference there, to where the mining and smithing showed how you can perfect what you had and make that better, and that is kind of in the sense of the 110s. And Archaeology shows what you can do when you start from fresh.
It does kind of make me interested to know what our next skill is going to be and how that's going to look. given where Necromancy was. So
Not a combat skill. They said that at RuneFest, right?
yeah, and probably not sailing.
And probably not sailing.
So
Yeah. I am all in on animal taming. I just decided.
I'm here for trading.
Yeah, I mean, Necromancy is just the poor Liger of the group, right? Like, it's just gotta. It's what's that thing in Australia that's all weird?
That does
Australia?
not narrow it down at all.
Vegemite.
That too. No, but you know, like a platypus is just like a little. It has like all of these things.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think we would see the similarities between archaeology and necromancy so much more if it wasn't for the combat aspect. But that's okay. Necromancy is it's special.
It's special.
Its own special thing, and I love it for who it is, what it is.
All right, last word, anybody? I think that's it.
Word.
Let's keep getting archaeology content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if they made an idle game that was just archaeology?
Oh.
Don't they have
I
that in
know.
Melvor?
And that is Melvor
I
Idol.
mean,
Yes.
I kid. But thank you, Patreon supporters, for allowing us to do this episode. It means the world to us. Let us know what you thought. Did we hit the spot? Did we talk about it the way you expected us to? Did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments, either on the Patreon episode or in Discord. Of course, Avernick, always great having you here.
Thank you. Yeah.
You'll be back next week for Quest Week.
Very excited for Quest Week.
Yeah.
Quest
Zerdones,
Week.
you'll be there too.
Oh yeah.
Always good to talk about where we're going with the Mascot. And there's one more quest after this one, isn't there?
There's two more.
There's one more after this one.
Yeah, there's one more after this one.
One more?
Yeah.
The finale in 3 months, or
Oh.
Yeah, this is the
okay.
second to last one.
3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, this is Osmond gets what's coming to him.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that next week on the podcast. But of course, Tanis, always good having you back after a bit of a spring break from the main show.
thank you, Shane.
And you'll be
Good to be
there
here.
to talk about Dragon Wilds this week, amongst other things.
Woo.
Looking forward to it, and I'm just glad I could still be here and enjoy archaeology 5 years later.
Yep, and that's why we did this episode. So, well, I hope everybody enjoyed that perspective on archaeology. I always lament at the start of April that it's been X years since archaeology. I remember doing that last year for 5, and this year was 6. But you know, it's just such a comfy skill to come home to. I think every time we get an update.
It is.
for
It's very much it feels like a classic skill in the modern era, if that makes sense.
Ooh, that's an interesting take, and that actually reminds me of something I was meaning to poke you about, about classic and RuneScape, but we'll talk about that another time. It goes to, I guess, what forms Zerdone's opinions on RS. But hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. If you did, let us know. Let us know if you like us releasing these monthly bits, because like we said, we have 90 other ones, well, 93 other ones after that haven't been released. And I'm just looking at the list here right now, and we did some really absurd ones back in the day. We did one called Game Development 101.
Oh, that'd be an interesting one.
Yeah. We did one on the community player mod system.
Mm.
We also did Legacy Combat.
Oh, Legacy Combat.
Yeah, that was actually
Someone loves you.
That was actually very useful for people like Tanis when it came to accessibility, because
Sure.
you know those Lost Grove Slayer creatures that are 107 and up. I forget their name. But you can effectively go there on Legacy Combat with a Summoning Familiar and Blood Barrage and effectively AFK them and be very effective.
Oh, nice.
So there is a use for Legacy Combat, or I guess Classic Combat. as it's called now, but there's lots of options on the table for that. But we do have a few achievements this week. Starting off, Mel got 99 Dungeoneering on June 22nd, as well as 99 Archaeology. Isaramp got 120 Strength on the 20th, and Pugnacious from our RSBANDB group Iron Man got 99 Agility on June 20th as well.
And other achievements, June 25th, Juan Peru crushing it once again with the mobile PVM. Got Keeper of the Faith, the Commander Ziliana boss log, with a hum of Saradomin, which I think that's the new one.
That is the new one. Have you
That's
gone
the new
back
one?
for
Okay.
it?
I did go back and get that one. I feel very fortunate that it didn't take me very long. I heard some people went very dry on it, but I got it inside the first hour, so I was happy with that.
Very nice.
June 24th, Juan Peru once again, Raksha the Shadow Colossus Unorthodox
That is
Grandmaster
completing
achievement.
all of the Raksha achievements on mobile.
Yeah, so that was Juan Peru's last achievement for Raksha, and that is probably the hardest one, I should think,
Yeah.
because that's the one where you basically have to do it as bad as you possibly. You have to fail all the mechanics, basically.
Yep.
So that is very impressive, and on mobile too. June 23rd, Juan Peru once again. Willow, the divination pet, at 145 million XP. That is rough.
Ouch.
And June 20th, Xanth, absolute golden spoon, memory douser drop it from the Gate of Elidness at 9 kills. That is a tasty drop.
That's the one everyone wants, and it's still held its value. Selling for
That is
north
the expensive
of
one.
north of like 650 mil.
Yeah, it's where is it? According to the wiki, it is 660 mil right now. So that is a tasty injection of cash. Or, some good divination training.
I've been debating if I need to go back to the gate or whatever and just try and spoon some stuff there. But I feel like if I'm going to spend gate time, I should probably do it on the GIM to, help the group and everything.
Help the team.
But Pern has already done that. He's already got both of the offhands for us. So.
Oh, well, you're a golden then. What more do you need?
Yeah, I get to do the fun stuff. But nonetheless, that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Let us know if you enjoy these, and if you want to get these whenever they are made available, just head on over to update.show/subscribe. We're on all the major podcast listening services out there: Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and more. And of course, YouTube as well at youtube.com/RSBANDB. But with that being said, we'll be back next week for another episode of RSBANDB Update. Thank you, Zerdones. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
See you next week, everyone. Take care.
Bye.